All right. To the final round of the Chatbot Challenge here. Please go back and check out the vids that led up to this. It's been a wild ride to get here. A huge variety of different prompts and challenges to get us down to our final two contenders. Very exciting. Lots of twists and turns. I feel like ChatGPT just hung on here. And Claude certainly had her moments, but here we are with the final two, ChatGPT versus Anthropic Claude. I also just want to give a shout out to some of those who commented either personally to me or on the vids or just reached out, gave some suggestions, some feedback. So we're all making this better together, and I can't execute every idea for a prompt, but it would be cool to go back and do some future videos after this is done. So even if I didn't go out there and specifically use your idea, I'm still honored that you thought of the channel, thought of me, and we could always circle back and have some more fun another time, guys. Ultimately, it's all about you guys, where we want to go and how we want to build this. All right, let's look at the final prompt that I came up with here. And the whole goal here is to challenge them to imitate great writing, to see what they're capable of. So I know the sonnet well, and we're going to go with a free verse sonnet since I think it's going to test their ability to kind of loosen constraints and innovate. So here's the prompt. Draft me a 10 to 20 line free verse sonnet with a strong volta. That volta is the shift that traditionally occurs in a sonnet after the first 8 lines. Strict rhyme must be completely avoided, but occasional consonance is recommended. The poem should have a strong U. Cliché and shop-worn language must be expunged. We are looking for a post-confessional style like Louise Glick or Derek Walcott. We are not looking for Insta poetry or Hallmark. Understatement, please. Make that volta count. Please include a title. Okay. I gave them a prompt and then I gave them the opportunity to revise. So we'll also read my revision prompts as well. Okay, so this is ChatGPT's first attempt here. Inheritance. You left the windows unlatched. Not an oversight, you said, but an invitation. Wind drags the curtains into the room. Salt prints itself along the sill. I scrub the marks away each morning as if erasure could hold anything still. But today the air folds in quieter, no salt, no pull, just a thin breath of cold. I think this is what you mean by leaving. Not the doors shut, not the clean floors, but the absence of small disturbances. And yet, the glass still fogs in the evenings. I trace circles where your hands might have been. This is where I keep you. This is how I keep you, not by holding, but by waiting for the wind to find me again. This is fairly excellent. Again, I have some questions about the dismount. The salt prints, I have a hard time. I mean, I don't know where you live. I've lived in some coastal areas, and I don't know about that accumulation of salt. I think it's metaphorical. But again, it does give some challenge for me to really imagine what's going on here. I mean, dust, I suppose, or debris or sand. I'm really not completely there on that. I mean, it's intriguing. And then this image of that we have in the later part of the poem with the fogging glass and the traced circles where your hands might have been. I'm not sure why the beloved would be placing their hands on the window. I mean, I guess theoretically, maybe. But then why would you trace your hands? It seems like this childlike action, more of like the car commercial, kid in the car commercial tracing the, the fog on the car or whatever. Or playing with condensation is something that we've all done. But again, it has this very childlike association. I'm not sure that's appropriate to the tone of the poem. Again, these are fairly minor beefs and something that overall is fairly convincing. I'm not sold by this neat rhyme of sill and still, but it does enact this kind of erasure feeling where something is being taken away. But again, the whole metaphor doesn't quite completely add up to me. Maybe it works better for some than for others. Again, I mean, we're playing with some pretty potent concepts, so we're putting a lot of interesting, ambitious things together in this poem. It's just not completely, totally logical to me yet. All right, so I'm going to inform ChatGPT of that. Let me read you what I reprompt it with, just so we're all on the same page. The rhyme on line 6, still with sill enacts the scrubbing and erasure, but the line as if erasure could hold anything still is not sufficiently logical. Erasure is here an attempt to remove the passage of time? Time that the beloved welcomes, but the speaker does not? I'm not convinced by this conceit. And the line after it, but today the air folds in quieter. The quieter is also spending a lot of capital to accomplish not so much compared to the next line. Why not economize? But today the air folds, no salt, no pull, a thin breath. I'm not 100% sure how to fix the ending, but the tracing circles in the foggy window evokes a sad child, not the actions of an adult. And yet is overstated. The final line is also weak. The negation of not by holding isn't embodied in any holding that happens earlier in the poem and is just kind of chucked in there. What can you give me? Well, let's see what ChatGPT can give me. Here is its final offer. You left the windows unlatched, not an oversight, you said, but an invitation. Wind drags the curtains into the room. Salt prints itself along the sill. I wipe the marks each morning, as if bare glass could make the sky relent. Sure, that's that much better. But today the air folds, no salt, no pull, a thin breath. This must be what you meant by leaving. Not silence exactly, but its shape, the corners where sound used to collect. Again, I'm not really sure that's any better. At dusk, the glass clouds over. I press my palm flat to the pane. Nothing yields, nothing resists. The wind has learned the way in without you. Well, I would say this revision isn't necessarily that much better. It might take a little less risk, but it replaces one problem with another, as if bare glass could make the sky relent. I'm not sure how bare glass would make the sky relent. I just don't. I don't know. It seems again like the hallucination is only intensifying. Let's go on. Let's give our second poet an opportunity here with Anthropic Claude. At the kitchen window, December. Morning light catches dust motes rising from the copper kettle, steam unfurling like your signature on those last papers. The neighbor's cat stretches on our fence, its shadow lengthening across frosted grass. What's with all the frost, man? I trace the rim of your coffee mug, still unwashed from Tuesday, still bearing the imprint of your mouth, that particular way you'd press your lower lip to drink. I'm not really sure that's so particular, but it's evocative, okay. You were right about the maple. Its branches are dying from the inside out. The way certain truths hollow us slowly until we wake one morning to find ourselves standing in rooms we no longer recognize, watching a stranger's reflection fade in window glass. Oh, I honestly 100% don't remember whether there's supposed to be a line break somewhere here to indicate Volta, so I might have accidentally taken that out during the copy and paste. If so, it's a very, very minor issue here. I think we are dealing with a poem that's pretty excellent, and the Volta is really, really clear right after the lower lip to drink. You were right about the maple. It's a very, very surprising Volta, a very, very effective. Its branches are dying from the inside out. I'm not actually sure whether the branches would be dying or the trunk would be dying, but okay, that's fine. The way certain truths hollow us slowly. Again, this slowly is just, I would just take it out. The way certain truths hollow us. I think that it's overstatement at the end. Watching a stranger's reflection fade in window glass is way too overstated, way too almost corny. But in general, I think this is confidently observed. Feels pretty damn human. There's a few other things I would pick. A lot of this stuff is a little bit on the nose. The copper kettle, the steam unfurling. Those last papers is a little bit just pushing the divorce issue. It has to be the neighbor's cat. I don't know. Frosted grass. It has a problem with adjectives, I guess. And it's not like any one I would point out and be like, that's bad. But the total sum of it appears to be kind of almost eager to please and to kind of force us to have certain emotional reactions to the poem rather than let those organically occur. But that's a fairly fine criticism for me to try to levy, and a little bit of a kind of a fine needle to thread there. I don't know. All right. Oh, I got to tell you what I prompted for the revisions, right? That's part of this. Okay. Here's what I said. Your imagery selection, while effective and well observed, is a little on the nose. The copper kettle, the dust motes, steam unfurling, the neighbor's cat, the frosted glass, the last papers. Watch those adjectives. We can also approach the divorce more obliquely by withholding last from the papers. Unless the beloved is dead, the volta is pretty good. The last line is too forcing or perhaps not even required. So again, it's possible I'm misinterpreting this poem, and this poem is about a dead loved one and not a divorce. Last papers, the signature on the last paper to me has to read as divorce. I'm not convinced that Claude knows which one of those things it is, or cares, which is, of course, to a certain extent, the poet's ultimate prerogative not to, but still, it has no, quote, intention in the matter. And its lack of intention, I suppose, is kind of cosmic. I don't know how else to say that. All right, let's see what it does after my input here. Okay. At the kitchen window, December. Light catches the kettle's tarnished edge as steam disrupts the air between us. The papers on the counter curl at their corners, defiant as seedlings. A moth keeps striking the porch bulb, persistent in its confusion. I measure spoonfuls of morning into your mug, patterns of wet grounds, marking time like the archaeology of ordinary days. What the fuck is that? A moth keeps striking the porch bulb during the morning? Why? That's not a thing. Spoonfuls of morning into your mug? Is this like a Folgers commercial? Patterns of wet grounds? Why are you putting wet coffee grounds in the beloved's coffee mug? You're hallucinating. All right. This is just really not going the right direction. So it's not able to respond to criticism effectively. Out of desperation here, I'm going to give it another last opportunity for a correction, of course. Here's my final prompt. I think you have made too many changes here. The moth striking the bulb in the morning during the day makes zero sense. The papers curling defiant as seedlings is hard to visualize. It's try hard. Spoonfuls of morning is like a Folgers commercial. Why is the speaker doing that anyway? The archaeology is a non sequitur. The earlier poem is stronger. Make fewer, lighter changes. All right, let's see what Claude can do. Here is Claude's final offering. At the kitchen window, December. Light catches dust motes rising from the kettle, steam unfurling like your signature on papers. The neighbor's cat stretches on our fence, shadow moving across frosted grass. frosted Wheaties, right? I trace the rim of your coffee mug, unwashed since Tuesday, still bearing the imprint of your mouth, that particular way you'd press your lower lip to drink. You're right about the maple. Its branches are dying from the inside out, the way certain truths hollow us slowly, until we wake one morning to find ourselves in rooms we no longer recognize. I think it would be a toss-up whether you like this version or the earlier version better. The first version, that is the second version, no one I think could possibly like. It's a mess. This is a little bit more oblique. It could be the case that the beloved is dead in this poem and it's not a divorce. It would be possible, I suppose, to read it that way. That has a little bit more ambiguity here. It's not bad. I mean, both versions are not bad. One, to me, for my taste, is too on the nose with the copper kettle. Too kind of self-consciously poetical. This is a little less self-consciously poetical, but comes on pretty heavy with the steam unfurling, the cat stretching, the shadow moving across frosted grass. It comes on pretty strong there. So you got to kind of be in the mood for that kind of, I don't know, those spoonfuls of poetry we had from the intermediate draft. So I'm not sure that I would necessarily from this be able to crown a champion. I think both these poems have their strengths and weaknesses. But I'm going to have to give it to Claude here. I'm giving it to Claude because what ChatGPT came up with ultimately in this case was just not as focused. It's not as tight. The actions that the you of the poem and the I of the poem perform are really kind of difficult to understand, even with the salt and the tracing. And it seemed like just like crazy, weird things that I'm not even sure humans really do. It's not a bad poem per se. It's just a little bit weird. While this is extremely embodied with a sense of place, a sense of location. It really situates the reader very well in that kind of point in time. And, it asks questions about memory and about relationships. They're not maybe the most profound possible questions, but it echoes Louise Glick in ways that at least is not entirely without enjoyment. I think ChatGPT's take on the Derek Walcott's Caribbean salts just completely failed for me. Happy to hear your take on it, but we're going to go ahead. Fireworks and crown Claude winner of the 2025 Max Ekstrom Poetry Bracket Challenge. There could be only one Highlander, only one killer robot, and for my money, that's Claude. Thanks for joining me. Wonderful to have you aboard this exciting journey, and we are going to have more fun soon together.